Hello ladies and mostly gentlemen, I'm gonna be, and yes, I need to change my wheels bolt pattern on the Smart-Hayabusa. I'll try quickly to explain the reasons why. But if you're not in the mood to listen to a French Canadian with a thick accent explaining things about tires and wheels and sizes, you can simply fast forward the video to the building part. Well, let me do it for you. Alright, so we're here, let's move that forward. Whoop, that's too far, rewind a bit. Oh, that's it. Alright. And for the rest of you who are still here, well, follow me downstairs where I've got something to show you, and it's not what you think it is. Or is it? Right, the entire Smart-Hayabusa build started with one decision on one part, and it wasn't about the Hayabusa engine itself, but it was instead about the CV axle, yet that part right there, that comes from a Volkswagen. I choose this Volkswagen axle simply because at one end there's a flange, and at the time I thought that it would be simpler to design and connect wheels through that type of axle to the sprocket and then to the Hayabusa engine. And now I'm stuck with Volkswagen parts like calipers, bearings, discs, which are all good, no problem there, but I'm also stuck with a 5x112 bolt pattern. So let's get to the problem. I want to buy the widest wheel I can get for the Smart-Hayabusa, as simple as that. I'm already using 16-inch wheel, but for the tire that I want to buy, which are Nankan AR1, for that size they only come as a width of 225, and I'm looking to get a larger tire than this. Yeah, j'ai des fourmis dans les jambes, so I want to get up. Just give me a second. Yeah. So the 16-inch wheel was out of the equation, and let's remove also the 17 and 18-inch wheel since, yeah, that's a Smart, it's just too big for it. After much research on the internet and chat with suppliers, getting a wide, affordable and available 15-inch wheel was not a problem. Except that they all come with a bolt pattern of 4x100 and not my Volkswagen 5x112. The 4x100 is a very common bolt pattern. It's for Civics, Miatas, Minis and so many other cars. And yes, probably I can order some custom 15-inch wheel that would fit my Volkswagen bolt pattern, and they will cost, I don't know, half the price of my mortgage. So for all of those reasons, and mainly this one, today I'm simply changing my wheels bolt pattern on the Smart-Hayabusa. I'm very fortunate because I was able to borrow from a friend who races a Mini Cooper, a 15-inch wheel that have a 4x100 bolt pattern. It's gonna be very useful to check for clearance issue before committing to that smaller size wheel and most importantly, the new bolt pattern. Yep, got a good gap between the caliper and the wheel, so for now it's all green flags to modify the bolt pattern. Oh, and for the fun of it, here's my 205/45 R16 Firestone Indy 500 next to the Nankan AR1. And this one is a 225, but I'm planning on buying 245s, so it's gonna be even a bit more meat than this one. I already prefer the look of the Nankan, but I can wait to see with some 245. Unfortunately, they will only arrive on March 2023, so months after this video will be uploaded. Okay, now let's remove all disc and bearings from the Smart. Now for the new bolt pattern, it's fairly straightforward. You roughly center the bearing and the disc on the wheel. Using a transfer punch, you mark the new hole's location, and with your biggest drill, you drill those holes. Not really. Yeah, I hope you get it, but that was a joke. This is not a safe and proper way to change a bolt pattern for wheels, unless you want to end up like this, gentlemen. So I'm gonna make a jig to precisely machine the new holes, and I'm gonna use this, an old and bent CV axle. With the joint inner guts, it was all wobbly and not good for precise machining. So this is how the jig works. Using the spline from both axle and bearing, I can easily secure the bearing in place and precisely and repeatedly machine all 4 bearings the same way. Unfortunately, I didn't take into account that different manufacturers, well, they will have different manufacturing process, meaning that the spline position relative to the wheel holes are not the same for all 4 bearings. Let me show you what I mean by putting a center line in this hole. Yeah, that one is a little bit off. Yeah, this one is looking good. And yeah, this one is off. Even if I change for another notch, nope, still not good. It might not be a huge problem down the line, but to be on the safe side, I will use each bearing to machine its own disc. Like so. Meaning that each disc will be dedicated to its own bearing. That's not ideal, but at least all the holes will line up perfectly. Speaking of lining up, I need a new tool to precisely center the milling chuck with this jig.
Oh, welcome to New Tool Tuesday! Unless you're watching this and it's Sunday? Woohoo! So this is a coaxial centering indicator. It goes in the milling and will help me align the center of the chuck with the center of the bearing or the discs. So it comes with the indicator, couple of different size and length of legs. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So let's go at the milling and see how this thing works.
To center the milling with a jig, you start off by moving one axis at a time, and you try to get a feel for which direction will reduce the arrow's back and forth oscillation. Then you do the same thing with the other axis till it's 0. And right there, I'm pretty much centered. Okay, now I just need to know where to drill the new holes. And if you ever try to fit a 4-hole bolt pattern into an existing 5-hole bolt pattern, it's not that simple. So here is my existing 5x112 Volkswagen pattern. And if I sketch on top of it a 4x100, like so, yeah, we have a problem right here. So let's rotate that sketch to find a position where all the holes will fit, like this. Okay, now we have 2 problematic holes. Let's rotate a bit more. Okay, now it's that hole. And now it's this one. Yeah, okay, I got to the conclusion that there's no possibilities where 4 holes will fit into 5. So I'm gonna plug weld 1 hole. Yeah, the top one. And since the disc has double the holes, I'll also plug the one at the bottom too. Got my dimensions, so let's weld. Okay, here's something that I don't know if it's gonna work, but I have to try it. You see, I need to tap M14x1.5 holes, and the proper drill bit to do the job is about 10 to 15 thou under ½ an inch. And drilling welds with high-speed steel drill bit, if it works in the first place, it's kind of a pain. Because now where I welded, it's hardened steel. But with a carbide hand mill, that should do the trick. So I've got a bunch of old ½ hand mills, and unfortunately it's just a bit too big and it will machine and remove too much material. Not really recommended for threaded holes that hold wheels on a racing car. I know we're just talking about 15 thou, but still, maybe if I grind off just enough material on the sides to reduce and match the drill bit diameter, and if I keep the sharp edges on the bottom face, it might work. So let's find out. Oh! And we're about 18 thou under, should be good. So that's one done, and still 19 to go. Sometimes I feel myself waving my hands in all directions to go along the narration, but here I have no clue the meaning of these gestures. Okay, one word. Or maybe not. I don't know. Montage. And here's the result. Okay, for the disc, as I mentioned previously, I need to plug weld 2 holes. But in this case, I want to have some sort of backing to prevent extra welds from forming kind of a belly that I will have to grind off afterwards. And I heard a long time ago that copper will not stick or weld with steel. So let's validate this theory with this old copper pipe. And the result?
There's a... Okay, maybe a 5 out of 10 for this trick.
Let's just try with the aluminum chunk. Much better. Big aluminum chunk for the win. Using the already centered bearing, I put small washers as shim, creating a gap between the bearing and the disc. So while drilling the new holes, that will prevent machining the threads I just tapped into the bearing. We can even see that with the gap we machined and created a puck at the bottom of the hole. So the shim trick worked. Alright, one done, 19 to go. And I am done. The next step was to reassemble all the modified parts, and I don't know what happened with my camera settings, but instead of filming videos, it took pictures? Oh my. Better. Ah yes, I did use a bit of anti-seize on the bearing housing. Future me will appreciate next time he needs to remove the bearing. No Vinny, you're not supposed to eat it. Embarrassing. That's really, really mature. Why am I even showing you that? Ouch? Now I'm a singer. Oh my god. And with all of that, it's done. And if you're asking yourself why I didn't plug weld all the holes from the old bolt pattern, well, for a lot of reasons, and one of them is to be able to reuse my old and now old wheels so that the car can still fit on my trailer. Yep, I'm afraid that with the new larger wheels, the Smart-Hayabusa will be even wider. Yeah, as if it needs it. But now it was time to test fit with the wider wheel, and I'm still using the wheel I borrowed from a friend, and to compensate for the fact that mine will even be larger, I tape on it a piece of wood. Now this thing is huge, it's literally as wide as a Vinny's head. Oh no, I got it, it's as wide as a Vinny's dick. So I started at the front, and I was really hoping that I wouldn't have to take out the grinder to cut a bunch of metal to fit this larger piece of rubber. That's a good start.
Seriously?
Still looking good.
Oh!
And for the front, I have enough clearance all around the wheel. But just in case, I'm just gonna cut that small useless bracket. Now for the rear. Have you seen my previous video on my brand new suspension from Stadium Suspension? Because that's the right stuff. That's too close for my liking. Luckily, I created myself a new tool to precisely and carefully remold and bend that sheet metal. Let me go get it. That's better. Alright, so I'm done with this episode, but before you leave, I want to talk to you about the next big project on the channel. Which is this. Yep, I'm gonna take a small break from the Smart and I'll be building this. This thing is just for fun, so see it has a roller coaster. It goes up and down, you can do front and back flips, and it rotates in a circle. So I'll be running and jumping up to 30 feet high. I had the idea when I was just a kid, and just like the Smart-Hayabusa, it became a bucket list thing. Since I now have enough skills and materials to build it, yeah, it's the next big project on the channel, and I'm starting it this week. So part 1 will come pretty soon, but till then, go do something with your head, your hands, or both. See ya, guys.